Hey friends, happy Friday. I'm Amy Zaroff. Welcome to another edition of Today is a Reason to Celebrate. Today we're going to be celebrating Aaron Jackendoff, who is an industrial designer, a photographer, a line artist, which we're going to talk about. And I met him through my dear friend Sandra Felimavicius and her Instagram series called Tap Into Your Creativity. So if you don't know, you should take a peek over at Sandra Feli Art on Instagram. Sandra is an incredible acrylic artist, and she's been on our show. And one of the artists that she interviewed and an artist that interviewed her was Aaron. So I found out about him. I found out about his amazing work. If you follow him on Instagram at Aaron Jack Line Art, you too will see what an incredible artist he is. I think I'm really drawn to his art also because he uses a lot of black and white and gold, and I just love that. And I see that he's here right now, so I hope that he will request to go live with me, and then away we will go. I kind of wore the colors of his motif. Once you see him on Instagram, you will see the same. Here, I'll just welcome you right in, Aaron. Happy Friday.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Happy Friday.
thank you. And now I just am saying, like, don't I kind of look like the color scheme of your art?
Yeah, you're doing a really good job. I think I need to do a better job.
I mean, you should be a
I
little bit more, no, but then you really wouldn't be the true artist that you are, right? Like just bringing out all the colors and everything. Well,
you,
welcome. I'm so
well, I
excited
really
to see
appreciate
you.
even your hair matches my art.
There you go. You know, I really work hard at this, Aaron. So
I know.
I found you originally through our mutual friend, Sandra Felimavicius,
Mm-hmm.
and she was being interviewed on your show. Tell us a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about your Instagram series, and then we're going to go way back to where you started as a photographer.
Oh, great. Wow. Okay. Well, let's see. So my Instagram series is artist to art. So I basically talk to a lot of people in the art world and experience, it's kind of like a deep dive into the experience. I really love it does come from my photography, really, like going out and just talking to people and learning and just thinking about this, like my art and my work is really just about being curious in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious about other people, and I appreciate that you're curious about me. And so I really appreciate that, because I think that's it's kind of, for me, putting that curiosity out into the world is kind of a model of how I hope the world will be, is curious about each other.
Well,
So yeah, so
absolutely.
that's the heart of the series.
That okay, I love it. I love it. Now Sandra Felimavicius has now joined us, which I'm thrilled
Oh, hey,
about.
Sandra.
She may have missed our loving introduction of her and how we connected in the first place. But I want to tell you that that is why I also started Today as a Reason to Celebrate. And I think that's why she started Tap Into Your Creativity in the artist studio, because we're curious. And I think that COVID gave us all the gift of time to be curious. And this medium has allowed us to connect with people we wouldn't have met otherwise and to find out their stories. So, Aaron, bring us all the way back. You're young. So, I want to know, how did you get started in the creative realm?
So I've been a photographer for my whole life. Since I was very young, I've interned for years and years, from just all different kinds of things. I've interned in New York City. I've interned here in Pittsburgh. I've been a dance photographer for a long time, so that just informs like my ideas of motion and humanity, because it's really, for me, about bringing out the humanity of people. Like, how is it to show the humanity, and how is it to, in my painting, I feel like it's even more specifically to my humanity. So it's kind of like the observing, the external world, and observing the internal world. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of in that reflective manner, back and forth. So So I've worked as a dance photographer, photographing jazz for a long time. Working with, and then for the last bunch of years, working with a lot of video uh, work and interviewing jazz musicians.
Hmm.
So I think, and I've been painting and drawing my whole life, but I haven't really been showing it and doing it in a professional way um, until more recently. So I've certainly put in my hours. I just, some things we don't put on the surface for others until we're ready.
That's a really good way to say it. And why do you think that is as creatives? What makes us ready?
Well, I think sometimes it's just that opportunity, and like you sending me the message and saying, "Hey, do you want to be on?" Like, hey, here's the opportunity. So I
Yeah.
think for some of us, it's just some being ready for the opportunity and then saying yes.
Do you think that in the lifespan of an artist and in their comfort zones personally and professionally, do you think that art has a deeper vulnerability, or artists have a deeper vulnerability than some other professions?
Um, I feel like there's certainly that possibility there. I feel like it's all in the practice of what we do
Hmm.
and what we call is our supreme idols, as it were, what we do, like in Indiana Jones, in his lost ark, like archaeology was his thing. Um so it's kind of like all in our practice and the different practices that lead to the one that's because artists, it's like an external validation of what we already know internally.
Hmm.
uh so what, like, what does that mean is really the thing.
I guess
What
what
does
I'm
it
getting
really
at,
mean? Yeah.
I guess what I'm
Hmm.
getting at is, do you think that there's a fear that when you put your art out there, like you were saying, you may not be ready or the opportunity wasn't necessarily presented to you, etc. Is there a fear that it won't be liked? Does it matter?
The fear that it won't be liked. Oh, um I think it's different when I talk to other artists. Like every person is unique onto themselves. So I guess it's
Hmm.
hard to say as like artists in general, like it's like at what level and what they're doing, because it I think at anything, it's with anything we do, we're kind of putting ourselves out there. Even
Hmm.
like to interview is
Yep.
to really put yourself out there. Like I've always interviewed from behind the camera, and then with this, because the jazz musician who I've been photographing and doing video for the last 5.5 years and bringing him to the top three in the jazz charts, like helping, I've been doing social media, photography, all this stuff, and he just passed away in May. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, that was a big thing for my switch and to really just like delve into this whole thing.
Sure.
So
Sure.
because you know he's an icon for me and an icon for many, and it's kind of like these figures in my life kind of passing
Hmm.
is my need to do
Evolve.
something to evolve.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
to evolve, to say like, and now it's like, oh, I need to now be on this side of the camera,
Right.
being interviewed, but all and interviewing. What
Right.
does it mean? That takes a lot of vulnerability. So thank you
Exactly.
for
It's
taking
all
that.
full circle. It's all full circle, Aaron. So, tell us a little bit about this endeavor that we're seeing on Instagram, which we can all follow you at Aaron Jack Line Art. The beauty of this. Okay, so I want to be able to express this the right way as a non um, artist, but well, I'm an artist in different ways, right? We're all
Yeah,
artists,
you are.
but
You
we're all
are.
artists in different ways. But it's line art. It's simple, but it's not. There's just a whole bunch to it. how did you get to that medium? And tell us more about what we can experience with it.
Well, let's see. I've been painting a long time, and it's kind of like I got onto I was in India for a while. I'm trying to like come to a
Yeah.
solid place. I was in India for a while, and I was experiencing just a lot of things and just like understanding life in whole new ways. So it it was so when you if you scroll way back on my page, is like it was a study on just like line.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the basic thing, you know, point, plane, and line
Mm-hmm.
is a thing. So I start to like draw these connections, and how I start to find things inside as well as outside, because it was a moment of freedom for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to express those decisions, those understandings, those intuitive beings inside, into into like in into a form. And I started drawing these line forms, and then I just decided to work on that project for a couple years and hours every day. And so when a photographer friend of mine, he asked me to do a photo shoot, uh, where I was doing that, but then big. And I was like, oh, I'm going to use Sumi ink. I have some around from my days of painting. So I just threw it. So he's like, I'm going to put up a big backdrop and you're going to paint it. Okay. Okay. Sure. I was like
Yeah.
doing all this stuff like 4x6,
Yeah.
in my sketchbook, my little black book with my poems
Yep.
in, kind of thing. Like that's, yeah. And my poems and my sketches. So then I went big, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I just kept going. Like, he saw what I was doing uh, on Facebook, and he's like, oh, we should do this. So it just kind of happened like that and evolved. I was like, all right, one thing to the next, and see where it goes.
So you sent me quite a few images and videos, and I was very taken by the combination of photo and video and movement. I'm showing my hand because there was one with a hand that was really unique, and I could see the visual texture. I talk a lot about visual texture in events because when you get like a flat piece of paper. This paper has visual texture because there's layers, even though it touches smooth, right? In your art, I can see a lot of visual texture, and it almost feels three-dimensional, even though it's flat on the page in some ways. And then you took this visual texture to a whole nother level in multimedia. So tell us about the inspiration for that and how you took that leap.
Um, yeah, so I guess I started with this group who was just like meeting up once a week and discussing art and saying, here's the time to make new art and to try something new. So having a support group was just and time to experiment with a support group really helped me to just branch out and try new things. And I so I started COVID, really, the whole like COVID experience of painting portraits. That I was traveling out west, and so I'd paint these portraits, and then I posted them, and then I started to reconnect with all the people from like my travels out west, maybe 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized what the thing that I really liked was connecting with people.
Yeah.
That the heart and the center of all of my work is connecting with people, connecting with like the human experience.
Yeah.
That goes to like when I put together events, when I photograph people, it's connecting with people and how to do it in a time of isolation. So this was really like it became this idea of carbon and the texture of the on the paper. It's it's carbon, and we're made of carbon. So as we connect together, that's really like the title of the project is Carbon Connection. So
Yes.
as we connect together, so how I really started to bridge that gap even farther into the abstract was that I took that and I was like, oh, there's musicians playing on Instagram Live. And I thought back to what was an idea that was happening in the 70s, of the idea of a happening, where musicians and artists and whoever, just creating together, people creating together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on there and I started painting with all these musicians in LA who I'd met, and we just started, painting and music, and it was just really fun. So it just started to overlay, just like I started to just layer these ideas in my mind. So it's kind of like one layer after another.
So I love that. I love that. And I was actually starting to move a little because I was thinking about the one where I saw the violinist and she was also singing and you were doing your art, and I was just kind of moving in kind of a organic or bohemian way because there was really no rhyme or reason. Like I'm an old school hip hop and rap fan. So for me, there's like a hard beat and I know I can keep it going. But here I just found myself kind of moving, which was really cool. Aaron, what brings you, now that you've become an artist and you've made art a career in all different forms, what brings you the most joy in your career?
Being here with you.
Thank you. So being in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being, and being with the people that I'm present with,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wish
Like,
more people could be present. Don't you?
Well, I think it's a matter of example, and it's a practice every day. I don't think that there's an end to it, or there's no end to working forward in that practice, and I certainly have a long way to go.
You know what's so wonderful about what you just said? So many years ago, I was in this business women's group. I know this is going to feel like we're going off on a tangent, but
No.
but it all pertains to what you're saying. Many years ago, a woman in my group said to me, like when you just said, when I said what brings you joy, and you said being here with you. In my past life, I would have put that right back onto you and not paused, said thank you, and accepted the compliment and the moment. And I think that if there's one thing that I have learned during COVID, it's that presence matters now more than ever, because we can tell, like if you're not looking at me on Instagram right now, we can tell. We can't scroll on our phone right now and forget that
Yeah.
we were supposed to hit do not disturb, which is what just happened. But there's so much distraction out there. And what I've found about this moment and these moments, and I'm sure what you feel when you sit down and you do your art, or you stand, or however you do your art, is that just pausing and taking time to appreciate people you may have never seen in person, only online, but knowing that this connection also matters is so vital. And it's so important. And your youth is pretty amazing because you are mature beyond your years, obviously. It's taken me half a century to get to this point. And I just really value that you did that, because you brought me back to that moment of realizing that, yeah, it does matter to just pause, accept, and be grateful that somebody else feels that way.
I feel that's, that two-way stream of just human connection is how do we, going back to this basic thing of human connection, and what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And what does that mean in this digital age? And I found the interesting thing really with my art was it's really became an expression of observe and being observed,
Mm-hmm.
observing the self and what arises. And then also we all have our own words and our own meanings that we've learned through our whole lives, and what they mean to us and what they mean to the people in our circles because of our, how we grew up.
Right.
What things mean, what emotions mean, what different feelings mean. But I feel like that kind of slowing down and observing really can lend us the ability to go beyond ourselves and to observe the other. That
Yeah.
that's a whole thing onto itself. But in my work, that's been or the recent project with musicians has been me observing that, like, how things have come up through the music and listening, and then some of them really seeing the work and what's being produced, and then creating based on that. So it's a conversation through different languages that's coming back to the present. So it's really about that human connection and us going beyond our own understood
Sure.
language
Sure.
and communicating. And so, like, right here, we're on two different sides, and of this phone, three different sides, because we have the audience.
Right.
So thank you, audience.
Yep.
um and so it's just to really, and even ourselves in the future, because so it's like different us, different others
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of this communication,
Yep.
and what it means in that time. And I just find that fascinating.
It is fascinating. It is really fascinating. And the way that you're positioning it is really fascinating too. Aaron, what do you do as an artist in the world of COVID when you want to show your work, and how to buy your work and experience your work? What do you do?
Well, I'd say first, if you want to buy my work, just DM me and say what you want to buy.
Good. Can't wait.
Get that out of the way first.
Get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way. Or, make a comment and be like, I want this. Or,
Right.
that's
Yes.
number one. Number, don't be afraid. I'm working on being able to get my work to more people in this way. It's it's a challenge. But a good challenge is always, an opportunity in disguise. So,
You know what? I
what?
think that,
Mm-hmm.
what we should do, Aaron? Sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
think we should tell
No.
Sandra. I just thought of this
Mm-hmm.
as we were talking. So, I'm an event planner and I've had to change everything to virtual events. I have yet to see the kind of virtual art show online where you can really not just look at the art, but engage with the artist, and not just through Instagram. So, Sandra, I know you're on here. I know you're listening. That's our next endeavor. We're going to get Aaron on board with us, and we're going to figure out how to do it in 2021 before we can all, get to that point in third quarter, fourth quarter where we can go to shows and stuff.
Actually, I did an event that I think you'd really enjoy as an event planner.
Okay, tell us
so
more.
I myself have a little background in event planning. I put together a 300-person 3-day design conference.
Great.
So, that's my creating that's gone on for 8 years. So
Yep.
it's but what I did for this was I teamed up with a chef, right?
Mm-hmm.
A chef who was making me ink. So he's like sending me these jars from Cleveland. I'm in Pittsburgh. He's sending me these
Wow.
jars of ink that he's making like from scratch. He's like cooking it over little fires and stuff and mixing all the ingredients. And so first I was like painting with the ink that he was making me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we teamed up with a gallery in Youngstown, Ohio, and musicians. So then we created an event halfway between myself and him, in Youngstown, Ohio, where it turned from one thing to another, and it just, kept evolving. And he made a sauce with a lot of the same ingredients as the ink, right?
Mm-hmm.
He made a sauce, and then we made it a pickup meal in the gallery with a whole gallery show.
Brilliant.
So it was a whole gallery show. People paid their tickets to pick up the meal, bring it home.
Yep.
And then we had musicians outside, and I was painting, and it was kind of a one to two people at a time.
Yeah. You staggered
pick
it.
up their meal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So a way to have that event, and then people would take that meal home, and then they'd finish it online.
Oh, as a community.
As a community.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
That way to have that staggered,
yes,
in person feeling with the artist, because like the chef and myself, and have that reflective taste back home as a community. So
I love it.
Bring the community together, and we had a whole loading dock outside, like a giant stage. It was a loading dock, but it's used as a stage during non-COVID times.
Okay, that is brilliant. Brilliant.
So it was like a whole stage with musicians, and then inside the food, and
it's layers upon layers of artists in all different ways. Culinary artists, musicians, paint, photography, all the things. Good for you. Okay, well, we're going to do it because Sandra said we were. So we're going to get it all together. And that's how it's going to roll. That's how we roll. Okay, what are you most looking forward to in 2021?
Finding the now.
Okay. And do you have already a vision for what the next iteration of your art might look like?
Probably like this.
I love it. I love it. Tell us about it.
To say at the moment, that kind of observation and thought comes in time, that we all need to take time with art and the world around us to more deeply understand ourselves. So that's really what it is it's my connection with the music, the musicians, through the medium. And so it's really coming back to this tactileness here with the rice paper and the ink and then the gold. It's our carbon connection here.
You know what I see on there? I really, first of all, about what size is that piece? Like roughly?
That is
like 4x6 or 3x5?
Yeah, 3x5.
Okay.
Yeah, 3x5.
So what I see in that, first of all, aside from the explosion of energy in the background, I see like a child sitting at a desk and the zigzags in the front are like just like more energy coming out from there, and maybe some energy coming out the back as well. And it just feels like it's moving in a forward direction. It's pretty fantastic. I really love it. And so when you do these, do you do them as one-offs, or are you thinking of them as like triptychs, or what are they?
What are they? I view them as just as beings in the now.
Yeah.
And as the now formulates, it becomes the new now.
I love it.
So as the new now emerges, the emergent now.
Yep.
We can then see them in new ways. And that's the beautiful thing, is that they come into contact with two. Like if I put up 1 and 2 here.
Oh yeah. Totally different. Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
But now they have a little communication. Now they have a little story between them.
A story. Yeah. And if you do it the other way too, where it's, this one first and then that one, it's almost like here comes the energy, and then the child is seeing the energy, and bow, anything can happen. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, and how
And
much
that's the
do you
same
sell?
way that we're and that's the same way as like we can be sitting by ourselves and then all of a sudden, you know, in this format, in this now, and what this is in the moment. So
Right,
this comes back to your question of like 2021 and 2020 even of and then coming right back to now is that we're interacting in this way in this moment
yeah,
because of the way that we're communicating, all the things that show us in connection, just as like if one is on the other side,
mm-hmm.
you know it switches how they communicate with each other.
The story,
And
yeah, yeah.
such are we in life.
Right, right, right. Oh, I love it. Aaron, you're so insightful. I love this conversation. How can our viewers find you and DM you to purchase the art that we hope that they purchase?
So they can come over to Aaron Jack Line Art on Instagram, on Facebook. Send me a DM, add me, make a comment. Check out my lives that happen every Tuesday, every Tuesday afternoon, and then Thursdays I'm on the Freedom Tapestry project. So that's another project that I'm working on where I have a whole other set of interviews because it's a co-curated group and very focused on an international group. Like
Mm-hmm.
the focus is international artists from all over the world because our curators in Syria and our producers in LA, and it's a multi it's a team
Wow. And
effort.
and what is the project stand for? What was it created for?
Um, it was created to weave the tapestries of us together across the world. Freedom.
Yep.
It's an ever evolving group, and just weaving us together as a larger community in the world.
I love it. I feel like you have a higher purpose, Aaron. Like your purpose is not only to create art, but to create beauty in the world in a much bigger sense. And it feels like pushing us to be in the here and the now, and to be present with these moments is really what you and your brand are all about. And that's really exciting. So good for you. And I'm really thrilled to know you and meet you. And I'm very excited because you and me and Sandra, we're going to create that event. Don't think I'm kidding either. And by the way,
No, I know.
when Sandra puts her mind to something, we can't say no. She will not stop. She's tenacious in that sense. And
She is very tenacious, and
yes, she's
I think all three of us are very tenacious, and I think there's something to be said. I admire the tenacity in both of you. That's
and we you. So this is really exciting. Okay, also, I'm going to put up on our website, todayisareasontocelebrate.com, more of the images that you've sent me. And if you would also please send me the Freedom Project information, I'll get that link up there as well. So Aaron, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being in this moment with me.
Thank you for being in the moment with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the people watching. I appreciate you.
Enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye.